Hi guys, Picasso here. In today's video, we are doing a cool fashion photography collage edit in Photoshop. I'm going to guide you step by step how I accomplished this cool and unique project. It was fully data inspired, if anyone knows him. Hi. And if you don't, please look him up. Yeah, first things first, I browsed a bunch of fashion magazines like Vogue, GQ, and Vanity Fair, and hand cut with an X-Acto knife. Any project really I could find that looked super cool and interesting, such as I was looking for mostly with interesting shapes and colors. When starting this project, I essentially wanted to do several projects with each of these items I cut from the magazine, like the one that you see here. But I thought it would be easier and simpler if I just stick to one object. So you'll see later on I chose this Gucci handbag from I forgot which magazine, but I thought the color of it was super cool, and yeah, I based the whole entire project on one item. But you could do it any way you want. Just you need some magazines and you're good to go. When cutting these, I had to be super careful because I haven't used an X-Acto knife since going to school for graphic design. So yeah, I was a little bit rusty in the beginning, but I was good to go. Alright, this section is pretty much me scanning a bunch of cool things I could find. I didn't know where I was going when I first started this project, but yeah, I was scanning some pretty cool stuff. If you can see in the background, I scanned from coats to sunglasses to handbags and shoes, and even started playing with cutting out the actual object but keeping the original photo, if that counts. But yeah, here's a little quick recap of me just scanning. Literally all day I spent doing this, which was not fun because I had a really old scanner, but we're good. Got the job done. But yeah, since I did not use these for this actual project, I kept all of them, so maybe next time I can start doing more different and cool things. So yeah, in this section, I basically started this shoot with my model Jay back in January. So I'm using some old photo shoots to create this cool thing, making a whole other purpose for them. So here I'm just I created a background layer, pretty much cut off her body off the original photo, and then kind of cropped in closer so you could see only her neck and her dress. Yeah, I'm pretty much just outlining everything that I want cut out from the image. So basically, when I'm doing something like this, I really have to go in deep, especially when I'm cutting out, not cutting out, but basically cutting into the image, such as this, outlining the hand. And it's a little bit difficult because they do have shadows and she is wearing a black dress, so it's a little bit hard to get it precise, but I'll show you later on what I'm gonna do with just that problem. This is pretty much the hardest part of the whole project, to me at least, is getting the right cutouts. And so again, once starting this project, I had no idea what I was essentially going to do or how it looked like. So I was playing with different cutouts to see what looked good and what needed to stay in. So you're gonna see me going back and forth a couple times here. And I am using the selective tool, which is like my favorite. I'm manually doing this, and I'm not doing the select subject tool, just doing it, tracing around. And so I finally got the subject in, which is the Gucci handbag. I was playing with the sizing, seeing what I wanted it to look like. Just going back in and out to see what looked good, and also going back in to fix the selection on the hand, which I told you is like the worst part for me. Like, just playing with the shadows in general is very, very difficult. But as long as you have an overall good shape, you should be fine. So yeah, I'm taking out the dress section of her and then going to give her a brand new dress. And you're just gonna see what I'm gonna do with that. So yeah, I try to play around with the background as much as possible. I wanted to go for the Gucci color scheme, which is red, green, and yellow. Alright, so I used a different photo of Jay, cut off her head, and try to make her a brand new dress. And thankfully, when doing the cutout of the dress, there was this outline. So it pretty much gave me a perfect outline of like what the dress is and what the dress looks like. So yeah, right now I'm just using the eraser tool, which is my favorite tool of the whole entire of all tools, right? And so I'm going around and just cleaning up the edges. Anyone who uses Photoshop as much as I do, we know that the selection tool, once you remove or what you don't want in the image, it's a little bit difficult to have a nice straight edge or a nice curve, a nice line. So what I'm doing, I'm just going to erase whatever that's a little bit ragged and just make it nice and smooth. It's gonna look nice and realistic and clean once it's all finished. And I was definitely going back and forth with this. Yeah. Just make sure one tip, make sure you know what layer you're using. So each of these items, like the handbag or the original image with their hand in it, I'm working on each individual layer. So I am erasing whatever that's on that layer, and it's just, it made things a lot simpler for me. Just do not merge the images together, or else it's going to be impossible for you to fix the hand, or fix literally anything in the image. And here we go with the little shadows face that I do not like. It was super hard. I am trying to make this look as natural as possible, even though it's super hard to get those shadows straightened, but I just ended up not caring as much in the end because it really all blended in together once it's all done. And I'm going back, straightening those edges, making sure that everything's blended in and no raggedy edges. We do not want those at all. Then, pretty much I was deciding what I wanted to do. So I decided to make the bag super huge. Thought that would be pretty interesting. So my next step for me to create this cool look, is to have the bag going over her wrist. Yeah, I was pretty much confused with this one. I didn't know what to do. I was debating whether or not I wanted the wrist in going through the bag, or there was a lot of design issues that I had that had to go into this making this collage, but I thought it would be cool anyway, and just kind of leave the wrist kind of just hanging out of the bag. Alright, here we go. Had to really get in there, adjust. And here is the image I cut from. I'm going in, smoothing in some skin retouch real quick. And here you have me creating a dress. I just copied and pasted her face all over the dress, which is super cool and came to me last minute. I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna make it super crazy, have her face all over the dress. And here we go, me just outlining those faces into that dress, and kind of like I said before, and when I started using the selection tool with the dress, it left a little outline, which was a super awesome, great thing that happened. Was not planned, it was just a miracle. So yeah, I could see the where the dress is, the original dress. So I just went in and then cleaned up those lines to make the actual dress form and her body shape and the sleeves and all that stuff, the arms. And so I was going in and erasing whatever that was outside of the dress, so I can, make it look nice and clean. This to me is my favorite part. I love the eraser tool because it does everything for you, and you don't have to worry about literally anything. Just making sure it's not going through any lines. Everything is you're coloring. It's like coloring inside the lines, basically. Cleaning up whatever it's on the outside. And then I also lowered down the opacity just a little bit, so I can see where I'm coloring in, coloring out. Just made things a little bit easier for me to see, since it's like it's just super hard sometimes to see the line, so really gotta lower down the opacity there. There's a lot of times where I'm just going in, fixing things, and then restarting that line, just so I can get a nice, intricate, sharp line. I'm scaling a lot of that. A lot of the brushes, going smaller brushes, big brushes. A lot of adjustments, going back in, going back out. It's super fun once you get into it. It can look a little bit difficult. It is a little bit difficult sometimes, but overall it's super fun to just play with your craziest imaginations. And here, I didn't know what to do. I was erasing lines. I didn't know if I wanted to see what it looked like if I just cut it in that hole and just, the part where like her arm and her face kind of meet up. So I didn't know if that looked good or not. I was playing with a lot of lines there. And yeah, I realized that it didn't look good to me, that like her face is, you know, cut off where her eye, you know, where her left eye is. So I decided to just keep it there as just her full face, and just like, I thought it would look kind of interesting. But yeah, I had to fix pretty much the design portion of like where her neck meets the dress, and like it was a little bit difficult for me to figure out what I liked in this, but I think overall I liked it. I really did. It all came together. So now just towards the end, playing with the sizing, playing with you know, fixing those lines, making them straight. And I decided later on, when I was creating this project, I wanted to make it more graphic. So I was paying attention to what I really wanted. I wanted shapes. I wanted like full circle rather than like, I paid attention more to the overall shape than to the edges. So I really wanted to make a nice simple line instead of really focusing on the textures of her hair and the waves, you know? And so in this part, I am pretty much focusing the purse, the handbag, around her wrist. So I was playing a lot with the perspective. So yeah, I'm erasing the parts that I don't need. I duplicated the bag. So there's two layers of bags. One that's gonna be underneath, like over her wrist, and the other layer of the bag is going over her wrist. So I activated those two layers together, and I am erasing whatever that does not look right to the perspective. So I'm erasing everything that's just going over her wrist and like over her fingers. So I'm just really fixing that part. And yeah, this is looking pretty good. Now, just finalizing this image. I really like everything that's going on here. The design looks the way I like it to be. So now I'm erasing the outline of the dress, which is how I used to make all the faces, you know, come together inside the dress. So now I'm just erasing the outlines or anything that looks a little bit funky. Straightening those lines, you know, making it super intricate, super smooth, super clean. And still playing with the shadows because I was just I was not really liking those shadows. Cleaning up those lines. Yeah, when it came to the hand shadows, I just stayed with whatever looked the most natural. I didn't even bother going into that. But anyways, it kind of just blended into the whole design anyways. I didn't really worry about it towards the end. But yeah, cleaning those edges, we do not want those. But also being very careful with the hand because it's part of that layer. It's part of the dress, initial dress layer. so we do not want to remove anything that's part of that layer. I'm being super careful. This is where I use the smallest scale of the brush, which is at number 6, because I'm trying to be super careful with the lines. See, I did a little doo-doo there. I accidentally cut off a little bit of her finger because I forgot about the layer part that I warned you guys. Warned you guys about. So yeah, I'm still going in, still fixing those lines, the erase the neck, which is part of the layer that I'm working on to remove the dress outline. So yeah, just going in, cleaning up those lines, which is the most important part. Alright, now this part. Well, I just decided this towards the end of the this photo I'm working on. I decided to clean up a little bit of the cutout lines when I use the X-Acto knife. So obviously when you use an X-Acto knife on anything, or especially on magazines, you're definitely going to get some edges that you can't really clean up. I mean, at least I couldn't clean up. So yeah, I'm doing the labor in Photoshop of like just cleaning up those edges because I couldn't really get that perfect when cutting. And obviously when you use the knife, you're going to get a little bit of the texture of the paper of the outline. So yeah, I am cleaning those lines so it doesn't look like paper and it's more like just an image, the actual image that I'm, that I, let's say, initially shot, but I didn't. It's just the cutout. So I'm making it more part of the image rather than like magazine paper. So I am continuing using the smallest size of brush. I'm using size 9. I'm going in super into detail and cutting in those little white lines. And I am going back, like I said, I used 2 layers for the bag. And I am making super sure that it is the correct layer that I'm using, because we do not want to ruin our hard work and really just making sure we are paying attention to what layer we're working on. And usually I would label those layers, like let's say instead of layer 2, label them as like bag or arm or hand. But when I was working on this project, it was my final project for my photography class, so it was really just focused on getting this project done. I didn't really, like I said, I didn't know like what I wanted from this project. I was pretty much experimenting as I was going. It was this is my second time doing something like this, like collage work. So I was really just experimenting, kind of winging it with this. So did not label anything. and I'm sorry if I didn't label anything for you guys, but I was doing my best to explain what each layer does here. Yeah, overall, I am obsessed, and I think this is it. This is the final look, and it's one of my favorite pieces from this project. Alright, on to this next section piece. I'm using this portrait of Jay, and I'm going to outline her portrait, I guess, and just, I don't know how to explain, but I'm going to use a little bit of her outline, like her shoulders and her head, her ear, to make this super cool sort of look. So I did use the selection tool in this again. And so yeah, here we go. Alright, so I am going back, outlining her portrait again. And I'm looking for just a strip of her portrait right there. And now I made sure I put the background as black, color fill black for the background, so I could see a little bit of what I'm doing in this image when erasing those lines and making them nice and smooth, nice and straight. Really going in again with a small brush, size 19 I'm using for this one, just smooth out those lines and erasing the lines that I don't really need. And again, I'm looking for something, just a strip of her portrait. And so I then used the handbag scan, started to mess around. I just started to just play with the design and like copying different layers of this handbag scan. And just kind of playing with the perspective, playing with the angles, and the shape. And I'm putting that inside of her portrait, if that makes sense. So I'm erasing any lines that I didn't need that was outside of her portrait. I'm using a little bit of a bigger brush on this one, 35, because I'm just trying to get the overall look. I'm experimenting to see which I like. And again, cutting out, removing those lines that are outside of her portrait, outside of those lines, and really playing with the design here. I was going back and forth to see how I wanted this to look like. And I did want some of a part of the bag to kind of, well, some of the bags to be outside of the portrait, some with, some inside. So I was really playing with the overall look of this image, really just rotating it around to see what I like and what I didn't like. So pretty much now I'm going in and erasing the lines again like I did in the previous image. So I wanted to make it look more part of the image itself and not paper. So I'm really erasing those ragged edges alongside the handbag. Alright, and with this image, I kind of fast forward this one a little bit. I'm using the same technique as before. This is my model Kimberly, and so with this image, I pretty much cut whatever I wanted to look like. So I decided to again use the selection tool and select the part that was inside the coat and a part of her face, and then just completely remove that out, so then only the background would show. And so I definitely, what I did, I just put, again, I put the handbag inside the part where I cut out, where there was empty spaces. And then smoothing out those lines as well as I did in the previous project. Really playing with the opacity there. To see what I liked and what I didn't like. Also playing with the concept here. I didn't know what I wanted. I thought that looked cool with the bag over her eye, and now I'm just rotating the bag to see what I like. Because I was also paying attention to with the leather straps and the overall color with the red and the I would say cream, the red and cream. So I was really paying attention to the pattern of the bag and the blue straps. So I was really going back and forth with this and to see what I liked. Making the handbag smaller and bigger, kind of rotating around to see what pattern looked the best. And so with this image, I'm pretty much just smoothing out her skin real quick. I would do this before even starting the collage. And then I would go back and use the selection tool. I would just use select subject if I'm just cutting out the portrait, not really looking into cutting a certain part of it. So when I'm not going into much detail, I just use select subject and then I copy and paste. And then I worry about it later. So yeah, in this section, I decided to cut a part of her coat and put the handbags inside and through it. So yeah, I'm putting that portrait you just saw me skin retouching real quick. I cut that portrait from that image and then just combining it with this one. So I wanted to put her kind of behind the handbags. And what I realized when creating this project, I was thinking about layers. Not like Photoshop layers, but I'm thinking about the layers of like how much I'm putting into one image. So I realized like the more I put something into something like this, into a collage, the better it looked and the more interesting it looked. So I was adding as much as I could to make it more interesting and more fun. And I was playing with scale with this one. I wanted her to appear a little bit bigger than the image of her just sitting there in the front. And I was going back and forth with the images, see if I would like what they would look, how they would look. So I took back in, I would say March, I took some photos of my model friend Kimberly, and so I had a lot of portraits to choose from, and I did play around back and forth to see what I liked and what would look good in the collage and what would fit best with the whole vibe that I was going for. I guess I realized that certain looks, like let's say the model is, let's say, looking towards one direction or the other, or making a facial expression. I was really paying attention to that as well when making this. Kimberly is an amazing model, so she has, when taking her portrait, she makes different facial expressions, which is like super amazing, super talented. And so I was really like going back and forth to see what I liked and what would fit with this look that I'm going for. Really going in. If you guys haven't seen my skin retouching video, please do. What I'm doing with my technique is the same one I showed in the previous videos. Yeah, and then I went to another image and I decided that maybe this one would fit best with the one I'm working with. So that image that I was working on, the skin retouching, it didn't really fit with the image that I was creating. So I found another portrait and started doing the same thing. I skin retouched real quick, and now I'm outlining a portrait using the selection tool yet again, my favorite. Now I'm playing around, moving things to the front, moving things to the back, scaling. So yeah, when creating this project, if you guys would like to try it out, play with layering. Add as much as you can to an image. The more, the merrier, I feel. So I was really playing with this one. I wanted her to look like she was coming out, like, just kind of like, what do you say? Like, kind of spying on, spying on someone. So kind of like having her peek out of the bags. I thought that was super cool. And again, still playing with the scaling. most of this this entire video is just me playing around and like playing with scaling, playing with rotation and all that. And it's time consuming, but you really don't know what you want until you just play around with it. So yeah, I really wanted to make this fit into the piece. Playing with perspective. Alright, it looks like I like that part. So I was really going back and forth. I'm kind of selecting her in and out, turning on and off the layer to see what I liked, to see just the perspective, to see the angle. So now I'm erasing anything that I do not need in the overall image. Like her shoulder was kind of popping through the left side, so I kind of erased that part. So I'm using a bigger, just not bigger, but a little bit of a smaller size brush again, and cleaning up those lines. Because when I usually when I use the selection tool, I do get a little bit of those raggedy outlines of the original image. So I am cleaning that up real quick. Not making it super perfect since she is wearing a black coat, kind of blends in with the coat behind her. So I'm not really paying attention, just cleaning out those brighter lines. Cleaning up the edges on her hair. And again, I wasn't really paying attention to the outlines of her hair, well, the texture, I mean. Really just making those into shapes, making those into straighter lines, something a lot cleaner. So I was kind of erasing just those lines that are a little bit raggedy, making it into, turning into waves, or just, you know, into straighter lines. Still going in and fixing those lines. really going back and forth here. Alright. It looks so good. I'm so proud. Really, the most important part is to just be patient and really paying attention to those lines, because it could really make anything look a little bit just not fully done, I feel. Especially just looking at the coat right now, I need to clean up those lines. When using the selection tool, it really doesn't do the work for you. It does do most of the work, but you really have to go in and clean those up once you're all done. But I would suggest for you to do that afterwards, after you're 100% sure that's what your image looks like, because if you're not completely done and you do want to switch a couple things up, you're gonna realize that, ooh, I accidentally cut off a little piece of that thing that I thought I didn't want in the beginning, but then you later then decided, like, yeah, I kind of needed that part. So really just use that eraser once you're completely done with your design, because it is a little bit difficult to kind of go back and change that or restart all over again. So I even went back and just, even though the strap of the handbag was covering certain parts of the image or a part of her hair, I did even though it wasn't showing or peeking through, I did fix it. Just making sure, you know. And I did go back, clean up the edges of the handbag, really going back in and out to see and making sure those lines are smoothed out. I even did go back a couple times to change it around. And yeah, towards the end, I did change the color of the handbag. When scanning, it had a little bit of a again, I had a terrible scanner, so it did kind of scan it a little bit pastel-y. I'm not much of a pastel person, so I did go back, color in the bag, make it more contrasty, because I love contrast and I love colorful images. So I am going back in and changing the color of the bag and making it a little bit more vibrant, and making sure I am coloring inside the lines. And I did realize there was a little piece of a little white on the handbag, so I did go back. Whenever I see something I go back ASAP and change it. So yeah, really just going back in and out to see if I missed any lines. And changing the background color for sure. And that's it, you guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed watching today's video of me creating this photography collage project. Super fun for me to make and create. Please let me know what you guys think in the comments. And again, thank you so much for watching. And let me know if you would want to watch more something like this. Thank you guys.